Yo, what's up, everyone? This is Nick here, back with a brand new episode of Meet the Taco Plebs, and today I have Hodlberry. I've been interacting with him on Twitter for quite a while now, which it feels like definitely at least 1 to 2 years, and he's a really dope dude, and I've been wanting to get him on the show for a while now, so today's the day. So, Hodlberry, thank you so much for coming on, and I'm really glad to be having this conversation.
Thank you for having me. I'd like to let you know that it's just Hodlberry. You don't have to say I'm your Hodlberry. That just comes from the movie Tombstone with Doc Holliday, and that's like his catchphrase, in case anybody was unaware of that. And I would like to go on record also as letting everybody know that I prefer the word plebe, where everybody else says pleb, but I don't know if that's like an older person thing or something. I don't know, but I like plebe, but I'll go with pleb.
I know there's some big divides in the plebe or pleb community over how to correctly announce it. Yeah, but so let's just get right into it. What's your rabbit hole story? How did you find Bitcoin?
So, like most people, I heard about it several times, didn't get into it or do anything at all. I remember back in 2017, actually, I don't know if it was 2015, I had my own podcast. It was a gun-related podcast, and during the interview, I mentioned somebody to the person something about Bitcoin, and the person is relatively well known in the Bitcoin community. I'm not going to say who it was, but it was something completely unrelated. It was about guns, obviously, but so I was aware of Bitcoin for a long time, but just didn't do anything about it. I didn't know anybody in the space at all or anybody who had Bitcoin. So I was literally just Googling stuff, and I opened a Coinbase account in, I think it was the end of 2016. I remember buying, the first thing I ever bought was Ethereum for like $15. I'm pretty sure that was it was February of 2017. I think that was the first time I bought anything at all, any kind of cryptocurrency at all. And then in 2017, I went from, playing the shitcoin casino and just buying, because at that point in 2017, everything was going up, kind of like it is now, where just you think you're the smartest person in the whole room and just buying everything and, doing 5 seconds of research before smash buying it on Binance, or I had Bittrex at the time, I think too. I've had several of these degen type of things. So, but at that time, in the early part of 2017, like shortly after getting into it, I realized it was about the monetary policy. It was about a whole monetary system. I was kind of an Austrian economist or economics guy before this. And then once I kind of understood the monetary policy aspect to it, I just slid right into the maximalist, and then kind of went from there. For like a year, I was probably, coin curious, if that's if that's a word. But I was quickly disabused of that from people like Bitstein and Pierre Richard and Safe and Stefan Rivera and Marty Bent, actually. So by the end of 2017, I had kind of flipped everything to Bitcoin.
So you said you were already into Austrian economics before Bitcoin. What kind of got you into that? Because I know like there's a term in Bitcoin, it's called like default Keynesian, like everyone today is just, a default Keynesian. So I'm interested, if it wasn't Bitcoin, what got you into Austrian economics?
Actually, I have a couple friends who are real big into Austrian economics. They're my college roommates. They're twins, and I was an economics major in college, and they were civil engineers, and they would talk about Austrian economics. They were real big into Ron Paul and stuff like that. This was back in 2008, 2007. Or this is when I kind of learned about Austrian economics. I graduated college in 2004, and I had never heard the term Austrian economics until after I had gotten out of college. So either I wasn't paying attention because I was in love with my girlfriend, or paying attention to other stuff. I don't know what was going on, who I eventually married. But so I didn't even know anything about Austrian economics until about 2-3 years after college. And then I got into kind of the liberty movement and understanding things about Austrian economics and gold and silver and stuff like that. And I used to be into gold and silver. And I just mentioned to somebody I had one piece of gold left and I sold it. And I own literally no gold or silver at all. And I'm 100% Bitcoin. But so I got into, after kind of understanding the monetary policy stuff and getting into the Austrian stuff from a Bitcoin perspective, that just did it for me.
Nice. And then you mentioned you had a gun-related podcast. How did that come about? Was it a 3D printing gun-related podcast? Because I know that goes kind of hand in hand with Bitcoin.
No, but so it was, most people on Twitter know I'm a Christian, and it was a theology. It was kind of like the theology of self-defense and weaponry and stuff like that. If somebody DMs me, I can tell you about it. You can go look for the old episodes. There's probably 60, 70 episodes out there still. And I got to interview a lot of, I had a co-host who was like the gearhead, and I was more of the philosophical guy, theoretical, political person. And we interviewed a bunch of people in the space about how, like, the right to bear arms and self-defense and things like that come from a biblical perspective. So I actually feel similarly about Bitcoin, actually. But anyway, the person that I interviewed, who is well known in the Bitcoin community, he was really big in the 3D printing gun space, like 3D printer OG guy. So you can make your inferences from that. I'm sure you can find it online. And so if you're really interested in it, you can talk to me about it later.
Awesome. Sweet. So you also mentioned that the first coin you bought was Ethereum. And, back in 2017, literally everything was going up. We're seeing that already with this bull run. Like, do you think how hard, I guess I want to say, like, we know Bitcoin maximalism is the answer. And how difficult do you think it's going to be for like noobs coming into the space to like see through all the noise and just, find the signal in Bitcoin? Because there's a lot of noise in shitcoins, especially with Doge just going up, and, everyone seems to love Doge. I mean, influencers, just normal everyday people. It's crazy.
In 2017, during that bull run, people, Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies in general, blockchain was like the big thing, like the big buzzword and stuff, and nobody understood it. I think it was, there was not a lot of good information, or not a lot of good podcasts, a lot of good, articles written. I mean, there was stuff definitely out there, but the Bitcoin Twitter community was a lot smaller. But now it's funny because I'm on Facebook too, in a couple of Facebook Bitcoin groups of actually Christians who are like-minded and into cryptocurrency and stuff. And I'm in there just chilling Bitcoin the whole time and telling them they're all going to get wrecked. And I'm seeing the exact same type of like greed, dollar signs in people's eyes. You can almost see it coming through the computer. It's crazy how much greed there is for people who feel like they missed the boat with Bitcoin, feel like they missed the boat with Wall Street bets. They know that, the economy's bad, and they're trying to do something in order to make some money, and they don't realize what's coming. Because part of my own story, and I've told this to other people, I got wrecked in 2017 pretty bad. I took out loans to buy shitcoins. And I did not recover from that until probably like 2 years ago. So now we have stimmy money. We have, more and more influencers in the cryptocurrency space. We have people sitting at home, not doing their normal jobs and just researching things on the internet, and just, as bad as things were in 2017, they're going to probably be a whole lot worse, I think, in this bull run.
Yeah, I was talking with some of the Zoomers. Like, I would hate to be a noob just coming into the space, just because there's just so much shitcoinery going on, and people who like start coins, let's say Justin Sun, paying influencers to shill his coin, and there's just so much noise out there. It's going to be really, really bad. But moving on, has Bitcoin changed your life in any way? And if so, how?
Definitely. I save more money now than I ever have. I was an economics major. I think I think of myself as a relatively well-reasoned, intelligent person who has a decent amount of self-control. But I realized before I was into Bitcoin that I did not have any. Did not have wisdom. I did not have self-control. I did not have a full handle over my life and what I was doing. The idea of low time preference comes to mind, where the idea that you just spend every dollar that you get, or you think like, hey, brighter days are coming. I know I can't afford this vacation right now. I'll just throw it on a credit card. I work hard. I make decent money. I'm going to be making more money next year. Things are looking bright. Let me just mortgage the future in order to finance my lifestyle today. And that was my mindset, and not like in a profligate way. Like I'm out here driving old cars and stuff and old furniture, but like still just living above my means generally. But I think that our monetary policy and just the way that the money system works currently incentivizes people to do that. It's like there's no incentive for you to save any money, no incentive to build capital, because you're fighting the treadmill of inflation. You realize that in 10 years, the debts you take on right now are going to be inconsequential. Either you can just default on them and declare bankruptcy, or you're probably going to, as somebody who was in their 20s in the last 10 years, I guess I'm 38 now. But when I was younger, I was kind of like, just what does it matter? I'm going to be making more money. Sure, I got a lot of student loans. Sure, I got a lot of consumer debt. Doesn't matter. I'll be making more money. Things will be better. And your outlook on life is different before Bitcoin. And once you realize absolute scarcity, low time preference, and other virtues that are wrapped up in that system, the way you behave and operate becomes different.
So, you said you're an economics major. When you were in college studying economics, like, what did you find useful and not useful about that, if I may ask? Like the actual curriculum.
So first of all, I got a Bachelor of Arts in Economics instead of a Bachelor of Science, which means that I could take a lot of general ed courses, a lot of liberal arts courses that were just BS. And that was unhelpful to me because I felt like my economics degree didn't prepare me to do anything useful. And the classes that I took were taught by people who are generally liberals, who had a positive view. I remember we went to the UN during one of my classes, for one of my classes, we took a trip to the UN because my college is about 120 miles away. And just so this just general idea that the government is there to help and is the solution to people's problems, that was definitely unhelpful. Most of the helpful stuff was kind of like the super basic stuff that I felt like I already knew anyway, like the supply and demand, things about talking about elasticity of money and elasticity of demand and things like that. Those were kind of helpful. Honestly, I learned more by reading Mises' Human Action than all 4 years of college. I would highly recommend anybody who is interested in economics to pick up Human Action. And that is the book that you need to, if you understand that book, you will understand the whole of economics. And there's really nothing else from a practical perspective that you need to learn.
I have that exact book sitting on my desk in my apartment. and it's been like 2 months, and I've not opened a single page of it yet. But I
I
have
would
been reading The
listen to
Theory
it.
of Money and Credit by Mises.
Yeah, it's a good one too. You should. I listened to the audiobook. It's about 60 hours, I think. Um, it's really good, and I mean, it is a little bit hard to follow at some points. And I generally listen to podcasts and books on 2 times speed, but I think I had to like dial it back to 1.5 times speed, 1.5 times speed just to understand it. But definitely, like when you actually reading Human Action or listening to Human Action was similar to thinking about Bitcoin. It's like I feel more empowered to start a business or to do something in the economic realm, like entrepreneurial, after thinking about the information in Human Action, because it was so it's like it was almost like seeing the Matrix. Like, this is how things work, and once you understand it, you can apply those things to your daily life.
Yeah, I've always known, like, I mean, not always known, but in the past couple of years, as I've been learning, Austrian economics, reading other books by Mises, and just like debating with Bitcoiners on Twitter, it's always made me think, like, man, I really wish that schools would have integrated, teachings like that into like elementary, middle, and high school, because I feel like that would have been extremely beneficial to them. But I think personally the state has a clear incentive not to teach kids this, because the kids would just become too smart and too powerful, and they'd be hard to control.
Yeah, well, me and my wife homeschool our kids. My wife she's the one homeschooling. I would call myself the principal, but I don't really do too much of the formal part of the education. But the kids have these books called the Tuttle Twins. Connor Boyack I think he's a Mormon, Austrian economics libertarian guy out of Utah, and he has these books, and a lot of the books are actually titled after famous works. So there's The Creature from Jekyll Island, there's Road to Serfdom, but it's spelled as like surfboard, like SURFDOM. So those are really good. And yeah, I remember being in high school taking math classes, and we had a executive, what was it called? It was basically like home ec, and learning how to balance a checkbook and things like that. But I don't think balancing a checkbook in high school or that type of thing is as useful as just understanding money, understanding where it comes from, understanding some of those basic things about the monetary system. Because once you understand those things, like keeping track of your checkbook or keeping track of, people don't have checkbooks, I guess, anymore. Actually, my kids have a book called What Happened to Penny, whatever happened, or I forget the name of it. What Happened to Penny Candy? I think that's the name of the book. And it's written by a Goldbug back in the 80s. That's a really helpful book for parents who homeschool their kids, or, anybody who just has kids, I guess.
Yeah. So moving on to my next question, I want to know, what do you think is like the best and like most amazing thing about Bitcoin in any aspect of it?
The thing that I tell people where I'm so amazed about Bitcoin is it solved a problem that we had never had the answer to before, which is triple entry accounting. So third parties being able to verify what everybody else has, and the Byzantine generals problem. Having Bitcoin solving those two kind of problems, they're kind of one and the same, but triple entry accounting, like the idea that I know how much money I have, me and the bank know how much money I have, and everybody can verify how much money I have independently, so that the bank doesn't get to say, oh, your balance is zero, when it's really not. It's really my balance is what I say that it is, and everybody else says that it is. And so we've all, as humans, decided to do this together, which I think is so if I were to boil that down a little bit further, it's the human cooperation of our monetary system. So it's no longer a top-down, thing where a king or a central bank determines what money is, how we have to use money, and that type of thing. But it's a digital, organic. It's both digital, and when I say organic, I mean it emerged organically to as a new way of transferring wealth back and forth. And the fact that it just happened, it's almost like magic. That the fact that people could get together and do this was just so beautiful. So to answer your question, the fact that we solved triple entry accounting and the Byzantine generals problem, those two things to me, I think are the most magical thing about Bitcoin.
Awesome. And then also, what are you most looking forward to in the Bitcoin space from here on out?
So maybe I have a couple things. So one is the further development of Lightning and second layer solutions for payments. It's funny because everybody who's into altcoins and things like that, their main critique is the payments stuff. So we've already got the monetary policy on lockdown. It is what it is. I just shared an article today by Bitcoin Posada, he just tells exactly why Bitcoin's monetary policy and the throughput of the transactions per second are perfectly fine for like the base layer. But I'm kind of annoyed by the lack of development on Lightning, and I'm not a developer. And most specifically, I am a little bit annoyed at the way it's hard to rotate Lightning, or at least custodial Lightning, out of the Lightning Network into on-chain. And I think if we could build out that infrastructure a little bit better, so people having Lightning channels, like Lightning channel factories, and it's funny because I want more custodial Bitcoin. It's the opposite for me. I feel like if you want to be self-sufficient, you can run your own node, you can have your own hardware wallet, you can have your own keys, and that's relatively easy to do, with your seed words or however else you want to secure it. But custodial Bitcoin for banking seems like it's still super hard. And what people are doing right now seems like they're going in and out of Bitcoin to HODL, but they're not using it as much to buy things with. So that's why I like Strike and Fold and some of these other companies that are doing more for the payments, which is counterintuitive. I know, because I've always said Visa works perfectly. The checking accounts work perfectly, debit cards work perfectly. But what I want to see is I want to see Bitcoin Visa cards, or I want to see Bitcoin bank cards, so that I don't got to rotate out. I don't got to rotate out Lightning into on-chain, and I don't have to rotate out fiat into Lightning or to on-chain in order to make any purchases. Once that piece is solved, then it's just game over. There's no reason to do anything else ever.
Yeah, I'm also really looking forward to development like that on Lightning and just other second layer solutions. I think you mentioned it at the start of that, but a lot of these altcoiners and shitcoiners in general, they really love to ignore the Lightning Network because it does make all of their altcoins just irrelevant. And
yeah.
One reference I really like, and I always visualize it in my head, Michael Saylor was talking with Preston Pish about some superhero reference. I think it was from George Lucas, but the thing is, he compared Bitcoin and altcoins to superheroes, and he said that Bitcoin is like a super slow and boring superhero. He doesn't have any fancy, powers. He can't shoot lasers out of his eyes. He can't fly or anything. But the one thing is he's unkillable. You cannot kill him. whereas altcoins resemble a superhero that are, they're super fancy. They shoot lasers out of their eyes. They can fly. They can teleport. Yada yada yada. But they're super weak and easy to kill. So he made the reference that Bitcoin could be this super slow and boring superhero, but then you just add stuff to it. Like you give him a machine gun and he can kill all the other fancy superheroes because he's unkillable. And the way we see it is like Bitcoin is that slow and boring, quote unquote slow and boring, like base settlement layer. And then you add stuff on top of it like lightning, and then it's just game over.
Yeah, and I really love I love lightning. I want to see further development. Just the one, I know you asked me what is the thing I'm most excited about. It's because the thing I'm most annoyed about is having to open a channel with somebody and like find payment routing. If we're going to do custodial lightning, non-custodial lightning, like I have a blue wallet lightning stash that I've just accumulated from donations from people or just messing around back and forth with people or selling something cheaply or whatever. And then now all of a sudden that unbacked up blue wallet is now like $600 worth of Bitcoin. And I'm like, crap, I gotta like do something with this. So, more development on rotating in and out of lightning, I think would be really super awesome. And once that happens, there's no stopping Bitcoin. If you can stop Bitcoin before that happens, you might have something, but after that, we're done.
100% agree, bro. So moving on to my last and final question, and you can just get as bull's hard as you want, but what is your price prediction for the end of this year, 2021, and for when we're at 2030 in 9 years?
So I think the end of 2021 is probably close to 150. I was going to say, or put it this way, I think we will touch 150, and I think that's I think that's pretty bearish. So I'd go probably 150 to 250 if it got super crazy and something crazy happened. But we're kind of we're not halfway through the year, but we're getting close. So I'll go with 150. If I had a gun to my head and I was really trying to get as close as possible. For the end of 2030, though, I'm probably more in the, you're going to have 2 more halvings in that period of time. So you're probably in the $10 million range. I'm assuming something like that, $5 to $10 million range. I am kind of still a proponent of the stock to flow model. I know that's unpopular with some people, but I do think that there is some validity to it, and maybe the model gets shifted in some way. But I think that it's a relatively solid model until it breaks. So I don't have to get out my chart here. I actually have a copy of it right in front of me, and we would be. Oh, I don't have a future. Never mind. But I think that we're likely going to be in the million range with, or at least getting close to a million within the next 5 or 6 years. And by the end of 2030, we'll probably be 5-10 million. I think those are relatively bearish expectations. But if I'm trying to be a super realistic.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on those. Actually, I personally, I have a lot of the same price predictions as you. But yeah, man, we've made it to the end of this interview. I really want to thank you for coming on. And before we head out, do you have any last words of wisdom, anything you want to shill, or any shout outs you want to do?
I don't think I have anything super interesting other than I want people to make sure they don't get greedy And when I say greedy, I mean get as much Bitcoin as humanly possible as you can. But once you've started to accumulate past what you think you may need for yourself, start looking for your friends and your family, your church, your communities that you're interested in. I started thinking about, who can I buy? Whose share can I buy up? Who's currently not stacking, but somebody I care about, niece, nephew, whatever. And starting to think more how we can actually build a society after the monetary system collapses. So that's how I'm thinking about Bitcoin these days, because I think I haven't quote unquote enough for my grandkids, but I want to start accumulating for other people. So I hope other people are thinking the same way. I think they are.
Love to hear that, dude. That's putting family and friends first. I love it. So if you made it to the end of this interview, go give Hodlberry a follow on Twitter. His link will be down in the description below. And I'll see you guys next week with a brand new guest. Peace.
Thanks, Nick.
Knowing auto invitation, hold on to the pavements. Hate me, love me, for grateful recognition. Heard the man's like